I'd like to welcome Andy Valtensfield back to the stage to introduce his guests. Please put your hands together.
Thank you for being here. Yes, as Sam said, we're between now and lunch, it's us. But it's a pretty cool thing because we have Vodafone and Allente on stage. Two very different animals, as I would say. And I'm not talking about the panelists, but the operators, right? Next steps in superaggregation. When we say next steps, it means we're not yet there. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what keeps them busy, where they are in the journey, and where they want to be. So, my name is Andy Waltenspiel. I'm excited to lead this panel. I'm connecting the dots, all the rest over lunch if you're interested. My first panelist here is from the Nordics. He's the CEO of Allente Group. He is there since quite a while. He's been the CEO of Viasat Consumer before, and he called Allente the new kid on the block. We'll find out why. Big applause for Jonas Gustafsson.
Thanks for having me.
We could be heroes from Alesso because
Alesso, yeah.
You choose that one because?
I need to honor my Swedish origin, and I like Alesso. He's a good guy.
There we go. And my second panelist, he is the global head of TV product at Vodafone Group, previously at Deutsche Telekom twice, and media broadcast in between. Big applause for Frank Rippl. That's, you leave me this and you go in the middle?
Of course.
Murder on the dance floor. I did not choose that one, you choose that. Why murder on the dance floor?
It's a very good question. I'm very much into electronic music. So,
okay.
And when I thought about the title, I thought we are still in streaming wars. So we have a lot of competing players in the markets. And we are, with our product, somehow a DJ, which is compiling the different ingredients and entertaining our customers. And there will be players going out of the business. We heard it from Malte.
Yes,
and,
yes.
So I decided for that track. There's a murder on the dance floor, which are fighting with each other.
Maybe even multiple ones.
Even multiple ones.
Good, I said very different animals. So maybe let's set the scene and give a few highlights about Vodafone and Allente. Maybe Jonas, you start first. Tell us the new kid on the block, you called it. Why that, and who is Allente Group?
So Allente is a TV distributor operating in the Nordics, so Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and also Norway. We are the new kid on the block, given the fact that Allente was actually launched and created 4 years ago, but have a much longer heritage and a much longer origin. So Allente came out of a merger between Viasat and Canal Digital, so creating a strong Nordic operator, and that happened 4 years ago. Some key facts, we are reaching roughly 10% of all the households in the Nordics, so have a customer relationship with them, roughly 1 million customers. Turning over 650 million euro, a profit of roughly 100 million on EBITDA. So a sizable player in the Nordics. But Allente came from both Viasat and Canal Digital having sort of, let's call it for what it is, outdated products, DTH and IPTV. But we are on a journey to sort of transform the company where becoming or being an aggregator plays a highly important role. So that's a bit of the background and the backdrop of Allente.
Cool. Thank you, Jonas. And Frank.
Yeah, Vodafone is a typical telco operator. We are operating mobile networks, 5G. We're rolling out fiber. We run HFC networks. We have huge HFC networks in various markets. And now in the transition to fiber, of course. And as a group, we have 17 million TV subscribers across Europe in 9 markets. And we are, as well as you are, in a transition phase from a very legacy setup, traditional cable business, towards a superaggregation and more open approach there.
Good. And you have a larger variety in markets. I mean, we'll not share your ARPU numbers, but in the Nordics, definitely it's more homogeneous than you have from Romania to the UK. It's a different animal.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a big difference.
Good. So we said next steps in aggregation. Are you already a superaggregator?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of, but we are, it's a journey. We are never there. It's a never-ending journey. We have our market, and that makes our business so exciting.
Yeah.
We have very different developments. We are getting new players in the markets. We have players exiting potentially.
Yep.
And I'm waiting for the day where we have a remote control with a logo which is no longer existing.
Yeah.
Imagine that you have 1 million subs out there with a service launcher button. I made my piece myself with a service launcher button on the remote control, but there will be the day where we face a situation that display is no longer existing.
I think I saw a solution where you can even change the logo on the button by software later. So maybe that's something to discuss for that case.
Maybe I get a headache about the cost then with my...
Different story. And were you are a superaggregator, ready?
I mean, the first question that you need to answer is, how do you define an aggregator?
Okay, let's go
And
there.
I think sort of the way we think about being an aggregator right now is the first step, and that is all about aggregating content. And that a traditional TV distributor has always been an aggregator because we've been aggregating content. But in the journey where we are right now, it's a lot focus about ensuring that we include, that we bundle, and that we aggregate different SVOD services to the traditional TV proposition that we do have. And if that would be sort of the definition of an aggregator, I would say we're there, or we're getting closer. But per Frank's point, the business and the markets are always developing and evolving. However, I think there is also a question whether you should start to include additional products, because from our perspective, reaching 10% of all the households in the Nordics, there's obviously additional products that you could include. There are adjacent services that would definitely sort of add to the value proposition. But that's the next step for us, and we'll definitely explore different sort of business cases. But it's something about how you define being an aggregator that I think is important.
You do offer also some broadband services, right?
We do. We offer broadband services in Sweden, and it's very traditional to Frank's business because there's a clear upside between IPTV and offering the broadband services. However, we've decided from a very strategic perspective to go asset light and don't own any infrastructure. So in Sweden, the legislation would allow that. It is different in the other markets, but definitely something that is changing. But regulatory changes takes time, and that's obviously an interesting aggregation or a bundle that we would explore also outside Sweden.
Okay, so bundling content, how do you see that? I mean, maybe with Swisscom, I think they own cinemas, same like Nosh over there. Some enter alarms, smart home systems, insurances. Where do you start and where do you stop? What makes sense for you currently? And what do you see as the maybe next steps for you?
So that's coming to product differentiation as well.
Yep.
So we own the TV screen in the living room in most cases. So there's a big screen in the living room where you can do more than video. That's for sure. So what we are looking into is differentiating from a product perspective, thinking about, and we just launched that product in Ireland and Portugal, Vodafone TV Play, where we have a video sound box, so set-top box with embedded speaker, with a Bang & Olufsen branding, super premium product, where we're super happy with the customer feedback there, and also super happy with the commercial performance. So these are things where customers see a value in getting these devices and getting a superior audio experience compared to the traditional smart TV. So this is the way how we look into thinking about differentiating by hardware, but also by software. And you mentioned it, smart home is something which is a use case which could be potentially exposing smart home features on the TV set. or on the big screen because it's there. And I think there's a bunch of other things where we can use that big screen in the living room to communicate with customers, to expose services, because it's there, it's shared, and we can use much more than video.
Okay. Jonas, for you?
I think, I 100% agree with Frank. You own the big screen, and that comes with a lot of interesting opportunities. From our perspective, I think we have sort of 3 different distribution forms of TV customers. The traditional DTH, which is satellite TV, that still stands for a significant share and a significant amount of our business. We have IPTV, and then we have Allente Stream. So depending on those different services, you have slightly different customer segments. So you need to ensure that
slightly different or hugely different?
Hugely different is probably a good description. I mean, just looking at the traditional satellite TV customers, the average age is plus 60, where for Allente Stream that Jonas elaborated a bit about previously, that is obviously tilted towards a much younger segment. And those different segments have different needs. And I think you need to tailor and bespoke your proposition to ensure that the services are relevant. Yeah. For the traditional DTH customers, which comes with a hardware and a dish on the roof, typically addressing like villas in the suburban part of the country, home alarms could be a brilliant idea. However, if you look at the Allente Stream, which is the OTT segment, these are typically people younger living in the city. Home alarm is not a big thing there. So you need to tailor that sort of adjacent service to the customers that you're actually addressing.
When I was in Norway, in Tromsø on vacation, I rented an Airbnb and I said, okay, where do I couldn't take the key. I said, no worries, we never lock the doors. So I'm not sure it's
Tromsø is far out, I would say, but it's a stronghold for Allente, so I'm happy that you enjoyed it.
It was lovely, yeah. Good. Next, what's missing to be the super aggregator? What are the hurdles? Is it technology? Is it the content partnerships, as we heard Malte say? Is it brand? Is it creating trust? What is it?
I think from our perspective, content is available, and when I think about aggregation, it's all about should we include 4 or is it 8 different SVOD services that you potentially could include? And I think obviously it comes down to the business cases. I heard someone saying before that you need to sort of arm wrestle with the big international giants, and I think that's true. In our case, it's all about, I rather sort of go and share the table with a select few where we can go deep into partnerships that is win-win for both sides.
Yeah, interestingly, you do not have Netflix in your portfolio today, right?
Yeah, no.
And it's not a problem.
It's not a problem because, I mean, first of all, we took a conscious decision to stop arm wrestling with Netflix because the case is not attractive enough. They demand too much. I think if you look at the Nordics, the SVOD penetration is roughly 50%, or it has exceeded 50% of household penetration. Netflix is by far the #1 player. Everyone has a Netflix account. You don't differentiate by having Netflix. So in our sort of way to compete in the market, it has not really been an issue. However, I would say that, you know, going forward, it would also be a natural sort of inclusion into the proposition, but it's not hurting that much that you would expect, maybe.
Okay, Frank, for you, what are the big challenges?
So certainly getting agreements, content agreements in some markets at least, is a challenge. We're also having smaller markets where international players are not that relevant or not even not existing. If I think about Albania, if I go to an international player, would you like to sign a deal with us on Albania? Then the answer is simply no.
Okay.
And it's not available. And we were coming, let's say over the last 2-3 years, we were coming from a situation where we had a lot of bespoke integration. So if you would have asked me 2 years ago, what is your biggest challenge, is getting the apps integrated in our set-top boxes because we were running a proprietary Linux platform.
Yeah.
And that was a huge challenge, which was costly. It was intensive in terms of management capabilities, also capacity, and also challenging for our tech partners. Now, with the change we did, we moved over to Android TV, which many operators do. I think there's a benefit for us to use and leverage this platform. Yeah. Nevertheless, you still need to have commercial agreements to have also economically viable business with these partners. If this is not there, then I fully agree. Then if the case doesn't fly, it's difficult to sign a deal. Even when I look on a strategic perspective, if there's no long-time benefit, then it's difficult to have a deal flying.
Jonas, you mentioned something interesting, that you have these 3 slightly different, hugely different customer groups. Reminds me of a study I saw on Switzerland, where we don't have the slide here, but it's like at 45 years, right of that, 55 and plus, even, who in the room knows teletext? Who knows what is teletext? Raise your hand. Okay, you're 55 plus. In Switzerland, believe it or not, teletext last year has been growing 500,000 users. I don't even know how to find it. Not 55 plus. So, but that clearly says the one size fits all doesn't work, because if you take a legacy product off of somebody's hands and give them the latest shiny great streaming box with Google TV, they might call you and say, where is my teletext? And that's not what you want. So the one size fits all doesn't fly.
No, and I think you're 100% right. I think the sort of the demand of the customer do vary a lot, and we've seen it as well. Looking at set-top boxes, just taking that as a hardware example, the usage of the older generation, if I take the DTH or the satellite TV customers, average lifetime is above 60 years. There are many people in that segment that is between 80 and 90 years. They are super important for us because they're highly profitable. They are loyal as hell, if you excuse my poor French. And so you need to have a box that is simple, that sort of fulfills the demand that they have. They just want to watch linear TV. So that's one thing that we are looking into. How do we find a cheap zapper box that could basically fulfill the demand? And that's sort of a win-win. But then on the other hand, if you look at the Allente Stream that we were talking about, that is a completely different sort of customer need. But you need to tailor the experience towards the customers that are, who's actually your customers, right?
Yeah. Interesting point about demography. I mean, just 80 to 90, that's amazing. I mean, you live long there in the Nordics.
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at the age pyramid, in most of the Western countries, it looks like that. And in the coming years, it's getting worse. Yeah. Means the growth is in the 55 plus, 60 year plus. That's where the money is. That's where the time is. But sorry, media guys, we talk about 14 to 49. Are you missing the train? Because if the money is in a segment that's growing that you're not addressing, something's wrong.
I think it's interesting. I mean, that average lifetime will go up. There's a lot of people who were born in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. That is interesting. And just looking at our business, they are paying the bills today. They're not going to pay the bills forever, but I think definitely it is an interesting opportunity there where there's money on the table.
Fully agree, and I think we need to realize that we need to build the products for customers which are there and existing, and not products for customers which we wish for would be there. Yeah? So in that perspective, you're fully right. Yeah. I think that's a super interesting segment, and what we are doing actually at Vodafone is really analyzing our target groups, segment our target groups, and think about what is the best product for that segment. So, of course, we try to minimize our fragmentation, having one box, so not a separate cable box and not a separate IP box. We create one which works in both networks. But on the other hand side, you're fully right. For segments above 50 plus, you need to have a teletext on your box.
Yep.
Yeah? It's sad to say that, but without teletext, you can't compete. You're not relevant. You're getting an unhappy customer. And our ultimate task is to have happy customers.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which love to use our products.
So, let's say you said that it's an ongoing game. Let's say you get closer to the finish line, even if it's moving constantly. You are all becoming a super aggregator. Most of you are moving to Android TV. You all look the same.
Yep.
How do you differentiate?
Want to start, Frank?
Yes, I can. So, as I said, we are differentiating in terms of hardware with Vodafone TV Play and the standard box, but we also look into, let's say, applications where we only ship an app access to our customers for younger target groups. And for older target groups, we look into more traditional devices as well to serve the needs of our customers. So we still deploy CI Plus modules in some markets.
Yeah.
And we have super happy customers. And we complement that with, let's say, additional devices which can be plugged in a second screen. We complement that with app access. But in the end, we're delivering products what our customers like to use. And Android is one tool. I hope that there might be another one in the future. Right now it's a bit uniform, but let's see what the future brings.
I think how to differentiate is one of the most common questions that I receive, but it's also quite difficult to answer. Because if we look at the Nordics from a content perspective, everything is available for everyone. There's no unique content, meaning that all the distributors and at the end of the day, all the end consumers can access the content. So I think how to differentiate comes down to the customer experience to a very large extent. You need to take care of your customers. You need to understand what your customer want, and you need to have a bespoke proposition. And how you get there, from my perspective, I have this term called subscriber management or commercial excellence, because it is how you interact with them. It is how you package. It is how you offer flexibility. It is how you promote the content that is relevant for them. So it is subscriber management and everything that sort of spins around that. But it's a lot about commercial excellence and being better than your competitors, being closer to the customers. Then you need to have, there's certain sort of must-have. You need to have a good enough product experience and a platform. You need to offer the hardware. But to differentiate when you can't differentiate on content, it comes down to commercial excellence.
I might challenge you on the term TV distributor. I think it's a bit dusty.
Yeah.
It might work well for your 65 plus age group, but for the younger ones, maybe I see you as an entertainment house. Isn't that what you are?
And I think I wouldn't disagree. I mean, we offer entertainment, right? And TV is, at least if I sort of translate it into to the Nordic local words, TV also means a screen that you have in the living room. That big screen that Frank was referring to before. It is entertainment. It is linear TV, but we offer and include SVOD channels and experiences to everyone. So 100% agree. It's more than TV, and it's not the TV that you have in your living room.
We brought 2 TV spots. One for Allente, one for Vodafone. And before we play the one for Allente, I would like all of you to pay close attention and see what's different from the usual spots that you normally see. So maybe, please, AV team, can we play the spot for Allente? That means become the king of entertainment, right?
It means
Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. I'm impressed by your Swedish.
Google Translate. So, Allente team, you can't talk. What was different? What's something you have not seen before, apart from there's no sound, nobody speaking? Anybody notice something? Sorry, say again? Toilet, yeah. You don't see toilets often in Sam? Mobile phone, yes. What else? The product, well, the product you saw, the Allente Stream logo coming up, but there was no content at all. No fancy Pirates of the Caribbean or the latest Star Wars. I mean, that's intentional. Why is that?
It is very intentional, and I think it goes back to what I said before. It is very difficult in the Nordics to differentiate on content. So that's a key component. We want to differentiate in another way, and one way of sort of differentiating is to build the brand. And the brand is obviously loaded with a lot of experiences, but having trust in the brand and understanding that it's all about sort of the product experience rather than the actual content. So it is a very sort of conscious decision, but there's definitely something around what you associate with the brand and how you can sort of differentiate in that way. Then it's obviously coming from Allente. We were the new kid on the block as it was introduced before. Allente's been around for 4 years. Our legacy brands, we had an aided awareness of 80-90%. We needed to start from scratch. So building the Allente brand and creating that sort of association around the entertainment as a core has been key.
So, and for those who don't know, all Allente stands, of course, for all entertainment.
See.
There you go. Let's look at the one from Vodafone, who has very different ambitions with their spot because they have a different starting point. Let's please play the Vodafone spot.
I'm thinking the White Lotus.
New Vodafone TV Play. With the best TV channels, sports and streaming services all in one place, nothing brings you closer.
As I said, different starting point.
Yeah.
We launched a brand new product a couple of weeks back in Ireland, and we really wanted to get it more emotionalized and getting away from the traditional broadband to a more emotionalized appearance, and also having this fast-moving sound as part of the advertising with this great device. So depends on the starting point where you're getting off.
Good. So I also expect very different answers for my next question, which is the one I also asked Malte before. I give you $100 million. What would you do with it for Allente and Vodafone? No bikes and boats.
Still this limit on...
You need more?
No.
I would love
On the
to have
purpose.
more.
On the purpose, yes.
So if I had $100 million US bucks, I would take 50 million to do an M&A transaction in the Nordics.
Okay.
To
Consolidation.
To drive consolidation. I would set up a deferred payment structure so I could only pay 50 million, but then finance with the synergies. The rest, I would spend 25 million in just building and boosting Allente Stream. So being quite aggressive in the campaigns and the offers in the market, then I would give $25 million to Jonas, who would clean up our tech stack.
Lots to clean up, Jonas. And for you?
A bit of the same structure. I definitely would take a portion of the money to clean up our tech and IT stack, which is from time to time in some markets very difficult. So really optimizing our digital processes, investing money into customer experience, and make it easier for customers to get, for example, OTT services, which is sometimes really painful for them. And another part I would invest in revamping a bit our legacy set-top box space as well. So having customers who are interested in the most modern technology and these target segments, equip them with a new, more up-to-date device and more fancy device.
Good. So you know why legacy lives longer, always, than you think? Because I don't have 100 million to give you. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, yes.
Good. We're over time, but I don't care, and I want to open the floor for a few questions. Who has a questions to Jonas or Frank? Daniel, you have a question? You smile? Daniel, bravo? No question? There's one. Mladen.
Hi. Is this working?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. So just Mladen from Telegroup. Just to extend on the previous session, and I like Tom's comment that like 25% of the operators do not have dev force, and 75% of them have, just I think he said less than 100 people who just have no resources to devote to the innovation. What's your take on that? How do you, as prominent operators, how do you handle that?
I think if I start, from our perspective, it is sort of going back to business school a bit. We have different services that have a different degree of maturity. Meaning, we spoke about DTH and we spoke about IPTV. I think from our perspective, just looking at the entire portfolio, it is all about ensuring that we make the legacy customer have the best experience to stay as long as they can, because there we know we make a lot of money, and take those proceeds and invest in the new businesses. So you have Allente stream where we are throwing a lot investments in now. I think more than 50-60% of all innovation and all investments that we're basically doing goes to that part, but it's less than 10% of the business. So it is the longer cycles, and that's how we think about it from a portfolio management perspective, if you see what I mean. Because I think I don't know if it's 25 and 75%, but the logic is definitely there. So I think that's how we address it.
So you do it in-house, basically?
In-house?
Yeah, I mean, you're 75% and the ones that have more than 100 developers devoted to it.
We do a lot in-house. Jonas, what's the split? 75-25, roughly? That should be ballpark okay, right? Yeah.
Frank?
So we work a lot with partners to combine partners and find common grounds to innovate and to develop new features and new capabilities in our platform. I would not. It depends a bit on the situation, on the area, whether we do it in-house or we do it with a partner. It really depends on the area of innovation, and it depends a bit on where we see a strategic fit for us as well to build up capabilities internally or externally.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mladen. Any other question?
There's one in the
There's
back.
one there at the back.
Have we got a mic at the back?
Please raise your hand again.
Two arms.
Two arms, yes. Jump. No? No, the microphone is coming.
Thank you. I have two questions, actually, unfortunately. One first for Frank. Could you just kind of expand a bit on the benefits of switching from RDK to Android TV? And also a question for both of you, and maybe, as you can see, I'm probably a very younger member of the audience, but what's the benefit of relying heavily on an audience that is extremely old and that will not renew, within the next...
I didn't say RDK, I said Linux.
Oh, like,
Not,
sorry.
it's not equal to RDK. We switched from a very proprietary Linux platform to Android TV.
I think he may talk about Germany.
Yeah.
Very old Germany, RDK.
There we don't have any activity right now. Yeah.
What's the benefit of Android TV then? Why the change? What has that brought to you?
So it simplifies massively the app integration, first. Secondly, you have a lot of features built in. Yeah? I don't need to develop a casting functionality. I don't need to develop integration with a voice assistant. It's there. And I have, and that's one of the biggest benefits of this platform, it's an ecosystem I can piggyback on.
YouTube.
And you have YouTube. I don't need to manage these apps. This is a huge benefit for my team to focus on, let's say, Mladen, as you said, innovation, thinking about new things. I don't need to reinvent a Play Store or an app integration. I can rely on that and rather think about how to make the content better accessible. Huh?
Thank you. And about the second question about the age of your user base, specifically for...
I think I can start. I think, again, going back to that portfolio thinking, I think over time, you're 100% right in your question. You don't want to rely on that segment forever because you know it's going to decline. It's undergoing a structural decline. But I think the benefit of having products that have different maturity allows you to invest a lot of the money that you make in the older segments right now. So I think over time, if you would ask enough, I would drop the customer splits in 5 years' time. It's going to look completely different because one part, which is quite small right now, but it's growing a lot. And at the same time, you have a big part that is undergoing a structural decline. So minus plus positive should at the end of the day mean that you grow overall. And then over time, you would basically gradually shift the mix in your customer base. But you want to move away from that. That is no sort of point in having a pure legacy base. So you want to drive the transformation, but you want to fund it in a sustainable way.
I think the interesting part here is also that people that get older change their habits, right? Even if you're now 25, once you get kids, suddenly you don't sit in front of the mobile phone. Maybe you go back to the big screen, and I know that Marcus over there, he did some nice studies with Sky on how the media usage changes over time when you get older. So you should not neglect the old ones, and there will always be old ones, and look about the demographics in whatever country we're speaking. If you invest into that age group and your competitors don't, I think you have an advantage. And I see not a lot happening for products of the older age groups.
That's the thing. I think we need to adapt our products over time. And what is valid today might be completely different in 5 years because there's new content coming up, new logic coming up, new apps coming up, which we need to foresee. So it's a constant work we are doing, and I think that's the cool part of our job. Yeah? We need to permanently learn and adapt.
So superaggregation, next steps means there is never an end. We'll not reach the goal because the goal is changing. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Jonas. Big applause for the two.
Thank you.